sorry about that, Toph. Bringing right now the man of the hour. Of course, he just was in the WC. He just was in the Cruiserweight Classic for WWE. You've seen him in TNA for the World X Cups. We actually got the joy of watching him in person all around at great other indie promotions. Great Canadian himself, Viking of the North, Tyson Dux. Welcome, brother. Tyson Dux, you there? Still apologize, fans. You had technical difficulties. Tyson Dux, can you hear us? Apologize, fans, for that. Hold on. Fans, please stay tuned. We're still here. It's going to bring them back in. Tyson Dux, are you there? Apologize, fans. We see Tyson Dux here. We're dealing with technical difficulties. Tyson Dux, are you there? Okay. Do you have Tyson Dux? Please call. Tyson Dux, listening, please give us a call back. For some reason, your line did drop. Tyson Dux will be calling back momentarily. There's a lot of radio does happen at times for that. But Tyson Dux will call him momentarily, probably in a couple of seconds. Of course, the man has been in the business since 1997. I believe almost 20 years. He's been on TNA. We got to watch him in the World X Cup. He just was at the Cruiserweight Classic. We got to watch Russell in person at a few independent events. Definitely a great talent to watch. We're just going to wait, fans, a couple of seconds for him to call in. We'll wait for Tyson Dux. Go ahead, so for finish your thoughts about Goldberg, and then we'll bring him in once he calls in.
But in a nutshell, Goldberg just, he worked his way through the roster, and I was at that Nitro when he fought Scott Hall and Hogan. I don't know what the attendance was. I'm sure you could find it online, but it was a lot of people. It was a very unique dome, very unique setting, and it was the closest thing to a WrestleMania. It was like a party, really. It was probably one of the craziest shows I've ever been to, and it was very, very exciting to be there live. I don't know how it came off on TV, but it was great.
Yeah, I think this is him. For the fans.
Go, guys.
Tyson,
can
you
you hear me?
Hear us, brother? Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, look at that. Sweet. Technology at its best.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
Sorry
welcome,
about
brother.
that.
No
Thank
problem.
you very much.
Just gave you a longer intro. We just telling the fans you currently you just was at Russell in the Cruiserweight Classic for WWE. You was in TNA at the World X Cup. Fellow Canadian, been in the game since '97, almost 20 years. Tyson Dux, Viking of the North. We have him live under the mat radio. Before you start off, how you feeling?
Feel good, man. I feel great. It's good to be up with you guys late at night here. Finally figured out this technology thing. Barely.
Well, it was good enough that we got you on. It is. Well, to start things off, what would you like for us to call you? Tyson, Mr. Dux, your whole name? The Viking of the North.
Brother, you can call me whatever you want. Tyson's fine with me.
Okay. Start things off. I'm going to turn it over to my correspondent, Toph, to get things started. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I get the first question. All right, awesome. Mr. Dux, I'm just gonna call you Mr. Dux if that's okay. Not to mention it sounds kind of badass anyway.
Yeah, that's cool, brother. That's cool.
Yeah, Mr. Dux, could you explain to the fans a little bit the process of the CWC? Obviously, everybody was, most likely contacted in different ways. So, how were you contacted? Was it like, an email thing, or like did an agent go to us, was an agent scouting at shows or something? How were you personally contacted to know that you were going to be part of the CWC that recently took place?
The way I got it on the CWC is by the one great and awesome William Regal messaged me, emailed me. So we email each other back and forth every once in a while. And I was joking around and emailed and said, hey, if you guys run the CWC thing again, I thought everybody was there, I said, I would love to put my name in the hat. Thank you very much. And then he emailed me back right away saying, listen, I need you to send all your stuff to me. It's got my stamp of approval, but I need you to still send it. And I sent it away, and within 20 minutes, me just being a bit of a jackass turned into one of the best experiences of my career to date, because I got on just like that, and Regal went to bat for me, and that was it.
Awesome. That's a pretty cool story. Since we just asked you to CWC, if you don't mind, I got one more question to kind of piggyback off that one.
Yeah, go, man. No problem. Continue. All
right, so here's the second question, and I think a lot of fans would like to hear this from an actual participant in the CWC. You know, in today's world of wrestling, with the internet and, you know, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, a lot of fans think they know everything. You know, they think everything's a work. So I always thought one of the cool things that they did was the weight limit thing that they implemented. I believe it was 205 pounds or less, and some fans were under the impression that, you know, a lot of the guys didn't really put the work in. So if it's okay for you to ask, could you go into detail about the exact specifications of the weight loss? Like, how serious were they about that?
Man, I tell you, the serious is like as serious as anything could be. They told us a month out, which blew my mind. Is they said there was a Cruiserweight show, so there wasn't much to it than that. Up until a month before the actual event, Canyon, who is part of one of the big wigs in the company, said, "Hey guys," he sent this huge email saying, "Please come in the best shape you possibly can, look your best, be able to go at your best." And that 205 weight restriction is completely real. We are doing weigh-ins, and if you don't meet the cut, we have 6 eager people ready to take your spot at any moment. So there were guys that had to cut weight.
Yeah, I believe you when you say that. His name escapes me at the moment, but I know one of the participants, I believe he weighed like 205 on a dot, and he looked like he was sweating bullets when he got on the scale.
That's the best part. The best part about this thing is the weigh-in thing. I thought it was fantastic that they did it. Showed a little bit of legitimacy to it, and those were actual legit reactions. That guy from Chile weighed 230 pounds a month before and cut his weight 25 pounds within a month and couldn't eat or drink on weigh-in day just to make weight. So that's a real reaction you're seeing right there for real.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, did you see, was it people like trying to make themselves throw up or wear like 8 jackets and T-pants? I used to amateur wrestle in high school, middle school, so a lot of people would do that if they didn't make weight. Would you see any crazy instances of that?
There was no sweatsuits or anything like that, but I know, Fabian Eichner from Italy. That guy is so jacked. He's such a big dude. Like, that's a legit heavyweight. He had to actually cut water for like 3 days, so no water, and had to up his cardio for the whole month. And I do believe he rationed his food for the last week down to whatever he could to make weight. Because those were him and the guy from Chile were they were 2 really big boys, and they just got under like a hair under. So it was quite a neat experience to be a part of. Because I know Fabian on weigh-in day, as we were all eating breakfast, he didn't eat anything. He just went there, and you could tell that he was a little bit fatigued as a person would be. And at the end of the thing, you've never seen a person so happy to eat something afterwards. It was quite a big deal.
Oh man, go ahead, so continue.
All right, cool. Well, we talked about the CWC a little bit, so let's go back a few more years, and let's talk about the innovative World X Cup that you were part of years prior. It seems like, I'd say as a wrestling, I'm only 28 years old, but I think I've seen enough to see a little bit about the cruiserweights. But it seems like about every decade or so, cruiserweight wrestling likes to reinvent itself. There was the juniors in the 90s, and then when WCW started to get hot in the late 90s, and then there was the X Division, and the World X Cup was really popular. It was the buzz. It was very different. How about you tell us a little bit about the World X Cup? What was that like performing on that level at that point in time? And do you think something like that could work today now that more fans are, aware of cruiserweights and stuff?
Yeah, I think the World X Cup was a little bit before its time. I guess I like for the amount of guys that they brought in and the talent they brought in, it would have been neat to see it today. Like I wish TNA had put something together like that in these times, because fans are a lot smarter, know a lot more about Japanese wrestling and wrestling from all over the world. So they're more intelligent now. So it would have been a really neat experience to have them more educated, because half the battle of the World X Cup was just educating people to who you were, and there was like 4 in like every team. So that's a lot of guys to educate fans about and styles about, and we just didn't have the time or the production to put that effort in at the time, because it was such a quick tournament. It wasn't like CWC, which has given a full show to. Like we try to bang this out in like 2 shows and a pay-per-view. So it's a little bit more difficult in hindsight. It would have been way better to have it the way it was CW.
Okay. You still with us, Tyson? Tyson, you still with us? Fans, you do apologize. Tyson Dux' line did drop, so he will be calling back. It's live radio. Thank you much for everyone that is listening to the show. Tyson Dux will be calling in about 1 second. Fans, we do see your tweets about Goldberg and about Tyson Dux, so give us a moment. We will definitely read them on air. Great questions as always, Toph. Waiting for Tyson to call in about a couple of seconds for that. So, fans, this is live radio. Things do happen. It's like a live show on Raw. We have no retakes here, no take twos. But I said, we do thank Tyson Dux for calling in, taking time out of his busy schedule. And looking at the man, you definitely wouldn't have any idea that he's been in the business for over 20 years. He's not one of those people that you look at, you can tell, oh, he's old, he's a veteran. Definitely doesn't look like it. Wouldn't you agree, Toph?
Oh, I would agree. And since you were talking about live radio, I know you already know about this one. My favorite botch of all time was that one random in your house where Sid botched, and he was like, let me go again. And Jared's like, we're live, pal.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one.
Stevie, you got him in. Tyson, you back?
Yeah, man, I'm here. You guys there?
Yes, we here.
Right. Okay, here we go. Listen, they call me the Viking from the North for one reason only. I don't get this technology thing, but I am trying. I am sorry, guys.
It's no problem at all. Go ahead, Toph.
All right, sweet. Okay, going back on the CWC for the next question, everyone is aware of the brackets now. I mean, if you don't know, then spoilers, like a month late or whatever. The next question we have is, when the brackets were paired up, was it just random, or did you guys actually have a choice on who you wanted to work with? I know it's probably not that big of a deal, but some fans just like to know nitpicky details.
Yeah, it wasn't up to us in any way, shape, or form. This comes from the head, and I don't even, from this point on, I don't know. I know that when we got there, the brackets were set to go. They wanted the guys that they wanted to wrestle in the first round. I think they paired them accordingly and tried to work out the best type matches that they could, the way they had them all set up. And that's pretty impressive the way they did it too, considering guys are coming from all over the world and the amount of travel and headaches. And, there might be guys that would miss a flight or whatever on their way. So to be ready and to have plan B and C in their back pocket is kind of a neat deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next question I had for you is, I'm very familiar with your arsenal of moves, and I know that sometimes on occasion you might pull out the old-fashioned brain buster. That was a move that was used, I won't say commonly, but it was a moderately used move, at least when I was growing up. And in recent years, in the independents, I still see the move often, but kind of like in the mainstream, not so much. So could you explain a little bit to the fans why the brain buster maybe not be used as much these days in the mainstream? Is it a kind of a dangerous move? Is it because of the possible backlash it could have if used incorrectly?
I don't think having those type of moves like a brain buster really has any kind of effect when it comes to injury and stuff, because the guys that are pulling out a brain buster are guys that can actually do it and can function well on it. It would never do anything to mess anything up. They wouldn't. I wouldn't want to mess up my job by giving someone at a higher level a brain buster and hurting them. I wouldn't want to take that risk just on business sense alone, right? And I don't want to take away people's reason to eat. I just, the whole idea is to win, right? That kind of deal. But I do believe those kind of deals, it's because it's it's a publicly traded company, and I think they try to steer clear of moves that kids will get involved with.
Right.
So I think that's what it comes down to.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like any one of those DVDs, you see, like they'll talk about, don't try this at home, and they're really, really animate about that kind of thing now. And since it is now publicly traded, like it's a totally different brand, it has to suit everybody. That's pretty much it. That's my take.
And it does seem like, Tyson, that WWE is very precautious, especially with any moves to the head. The brain buster, the old school way where you actually do drop them, not really on the head, but more so on the shoulder blades, and the power driver. Very, very precautious on that. They say they definitely don't want any kids out here trying to risk doing those type of moves at all.
Right.
So, Tyson, we were saying earlier, we was waiting for you to call back when your line dropped, is that, brother, you've been in the game, you've been in wrestling since 1997. For the younger 4Ks, I understand that year. We remember that year very well. I know I do. That was during the Monday Night Wars, WCW, WWF, ECW was around, Academy was a lot better. Tell us about when you started in 1997, and if you can, forward, don't want to date you, almost 20 years later to the person that you are now.
Oh my God! Like anybody in a 20-year span, like nobody ever stays the same in 20 years. Even if you were behind the same four walls and they get a chance to move, you would never be the same human being you were in 20 years. And I take pride in the fact that it's been 20 years and I can still win most of these kids and blow them up that are in the ring with me. And I can go at a high level even now, almost 40. It's always been one of my one of these things that I can boast about the most is that I can go. So that being said, like in 20 years, my God, like when I first started to this point, the amount of knowledge that the amount of stuff that I have forgotten would make a good solid wrestler at present day. So these kids nowadays, if they could learn the stuff that I forgot along the way, they would be that much better. And that's not arrogance. That's just that comes from growing up in the business. Like this is
man, this is all I do. This is all I've ever wanted to do, and I just eat and sleep and breathe professional wrestling. Much to the chagrin of my wife and sometimes my children, I'm sure. But
shout out to the little Dukes.
Right? So
shout out to the little
Dukes.
You speak of family. Tell us, is your wife, Mrs. Dukes, is she a wrestling fan, and your kids, are they wrestling fans, or do they tend to stay away from it, not really watch daddy, husband wrestle?
Well, my wife actually trained with me years ago to become a professional wrestler. Yeah, she did, and then had a couple matches under her belt, and then decided that now she's super intelligent and a bright woman. She realizes that professional wrestling isn't paying the bills, so she got a professional job. She's like a nurse and like has a great job and a great career. So she lets me be a child, I guess, and then she does all the grown-up type stuff, right? I think you're right. When it comes to pro wrestling, my wife will watch it, and I think she will enjoy it to a certain aspect, but it doesn't consume her, or she's not a avid hardcore fan, which is kind of nice, because I don't think it's healthy to be in a relationship where like one obsession between the two of you is all you have. It becomes a little bit unhealthy, I think, to be both surrounded and consumed with one thing. So I'm kind of happy with the way things turned out.
Yeah, she did. Definitely got to have some kind of break. You know what I mean? Or have some kind of difference.
Agreed. And my oldest son hates professional wrestling. My youngest son loves it. So I still get to bond both of them differently in different ways. But there's always that one. My youngest, as of right now, he's the one I can talk to about wrestling. The other one will just scoff and talk about something else. So it's good. It's a nice mix. I love the balance of having one boy hating it and the other boy loving it. It's kind of a neat scenario. And I would have it no other way.
So, and don't worry, we'll get back to wrestling too. So, explain. Just imagine the family dinner at the Dukes'. You wrestling the Cruiserweight Classic, you wrestling TNA, you having a great, and you dinner. Do you talk about wrestling at all to your son that hates it? Do you feel comfortable at all, or do you just try not to mention it around him?
Oh no, that's the thing. My kids at like the dinner time and stuff like that, we never talk about it. We never it never comes up. My kids are now. My oldest is almost 16. My youngest is 14. Youngest right now. The new one is coming in November. So we got a full house of boys here. But we don't really talk about it that much, and my boys have let it slip only as of late that they have friends that actually are fans of mine, and they've never ever mentioned that before, and they always find it weird. They find it weird that I don't know why Noah always wants to talk about you. I don't understand why he wants to talk about you. Like, we're at school, we can talk about other things, and he's always trying to bring you up. And I just always joke with them and say, well, your father's a pretty big deal, right? And of course they just, it's not. To my kids, it's nothing. It's just something that I do that pulls me away from the house, and then eventually I come back. It's kind of like anybody else going to a job. That's the same for those kids. It's like any other job. That's just what Dad does. That's it.
Nick, for that. Now, were you in WWE instructions? When it comes to, of course, wrestling. Of course, you have an agent. What instructions? Talk about the backstage. What instructions were you given before your match at the CWC, if any?
Well, they really all they did was want us to focus on having the most solid stuff we could have. They made sure that we worked out hard so they could film it. They filmed all our workouts and all this stuff, and they made sure that we were prepped and ready to go, and made sure we were healthy and ready. But for the most part, a lot of the chains were there were no chains on us. There was no bonds that held us. I did an interview, I think a month ago, talking about doing a vertical suplex off the second rope, because I do a stalling suplex off the second. And then that thing got blown out of context, because that had nothing to do with me being bitter or looking at it in a terrible light or saying that they were trying to handcuff me. Because why would they spend all this money to bring me down and put me up and give me a good paycheck just to say, no, you can't do anything? But that being said, it's the biggest company in the world, and I think you would have to have a little bit of structure with matches going from that you can't be out of control, insane right off the beginning, because you got to leave some for the end. And it was perfectly laid out, because the matches just got better and longer and cooler and just a lot faster as the tournament went on. And I think people really gravitated to it. So it's kind of like that locomotive type train aspect. Is like you start slow, you chug along, you give them good stuff that people come back and watch it. But the idea is not to give them everything, because you can't start at 100 miles an hour. You got to start at 5 and build your way up to 100. And I think that it was successful in doing so. Like that main event, the finale was stupendous.
Yes.
It was well done. It was very well done.
Yes, it was.
And there were some dips in it. There were some cool dips I never thought. In my head from the get-go, I was for certain that Zack Sabre or Ibushi were going to be the guys that took the whole tournament. And for them to turn it all around and have Perkins go up was blew my mind. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Now, talk about your match going against. I'm sorry, excuse me, friends. Talk about going against Zack Sabre Jr. How did you feel about that match, and talk about that competitor going against him? I know he's from the UK. I know the UK definitely have their own unique style. So how do you feel about your match against him?
I loved it. To tell you the truth, I love that match. And it's the reason I loved it is because it was completely different from anything else on the Cruiserweight Classic. And it stood out as something that was completely different. I think it was even more different. It was different compared to anything else. And Zach didn't have the same match with anybody else like he had with me. And I really enjoyed the fact that I had that. That was part and parcel me, and a lot him too. It's neat. I like the fact that him and Drew Gulak and these guys are. I always say, I always admire their commitment to their style and the way they do their style, because it takes real commitment, and not every night when you're just doing holds and reversals are you going to get a great reaction, especially with smart fans. Well, maybe some smart fans, but not so smart fans. You're not going to get that kind of reaction. And for them to do it day in and day out to really plug away and get their stuff over I commend them for it, because it takes a lot of patience and a lot of work to do so. So I really enjoy, and I'm a huge studier of the game. I've been studying wrestling for nearly 20 years, professionally studying it. So when I'm a huge World of Sport fan, so to see someone like Zack Sabre Jr. come along and do World of Sport style, or Jack Gallagher do the World of Sport style, I'm enthralled with it. I enjoy it.
Now, what kind of pressure, if any, were you going through, knowing this is the Cruiserweight Classic? You have all of these cruiserweights around the world. similar, different styles, but kind of similar pace. Did you feel any type of pressure of thinking that you wanted your match to stand out against Zack Sabre Jr. and wanted not only your match, but wanted yourself to stand out from the rest?
I think, there was. I don't think the pressure was there. I think at this age, this state of the game, I've been hired for a certain reason, and I know it. So when I go in there and do my thing, I'm just going to give them me. To put kind of unnecessary pressure on yourself to try to perform just turns it into something that's not you. And people see right through it, especially fans. Wrestling fans are the first to see through something that isn't you, that isn't real, isn't a part of you. So what is intangible, So in my opinion, like, I'm completely different than anybody else there. I have similarities to a lot of guys, but I'm built different. I'm look different. My story is way different, and my style is completely different. But yet, still, I can flow with the newer styles. But I'm still like an old school guy. I'm still the Austin and the Kobashi and the Shawn Michaels and those kind of guys. I'm from that era, so that's the era that I bring across, and I love that. I love that I can actually do that still. And I know that Daniel Bryan put over the fact that there's nobody as technically sound as me when it comes to basics, and I commend them for putting that over, because actually for him to realize that and us not to chat that much, he just knows from knowing of me through the years that that's what I'm known for. Is my basics are impeccable. There's from tackles to hip tosses to arm bars to reversals. I'm the guy you go to. I'm the guy that teaches it. I've taught it for 10 years in Windsor, so that's kind of my thing, right? If you do stuff repeatedly, night in, night out, teaching people, and then you do it every weekend, it kind of becomes second nature.
I want to give you a shout-out to you mentioning the great Kenta Kobashi, Burning Hammer, Burning Lariat. Definitely one of my favorite wrestlers in Japan. Definitely so.
Yeah, buddy, I'm telling you what, so Kobashi, and then his student being Shiozaki, and I know a guy that would probably be a big fan of his just by the style of his work being Sekimoto. Those three guys, I could watch those guys for hours, and I have watched. I've taken a whole Saturday and have burnt the whole day just watching those three dudes do their thing, because I love that style. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Especially the Kobashi and Dr. Duff Steve Williams legendary matches. Kobashi and Masawa. Like you have tons of wrestling. I've watched all of those matches. Never get old. The 30-minute false finishes. Definitely great stuff. Doing our research in Ring of Honor in 2009, you correct me if I'm wrong, in your debut, you went against and lost against Tyler Black, which is currently better known now as Seth Rollins. If you can, take us down memory lane of going against now Seth Rollins, Tyler Black, then in debuting for Ring of Honor.
Oh man, that's what got me my stay with ROH for a while. Pierce was the booker at the time, and there's nobody like Adam Pierce. Brilliant. The guy's brilliant. He was a phenomenal wrestler, and as for a booker and a guy, just a great dude, bar none, one of the best dudes ever. And so Pierce gave me my shot the first night I wrestled in Toronto, and this was on I think Frankie the Mobster, who was on those shows, and he's a guy from Montreal. He's a big jack dude, great guy. Him and Kevin Owens were really, really tight, really close. I think Frankie the Mobster is somehow, I think, godfather, or somehow they're very, very close. It's along the lines of they're very, very close human beings together. So Frankie calls me up and says, "Hey, where are you?" I'm a couple hours away out of Toronto. Why? He says, "I need you to come down right now because Kevin Steen has said, we've been talking about you and we want you to come in, and Pierce wants to meet you and you can do some tryout stuff. So I went down to Toronto that day on no notice. I just grabbed my gear and I went, and I wrestled in like a dark match for ROH in Toronto against one Rip Impact, who's a local kid out of Ontario. And from that match, the next night, and now this is all timing and circumstance, McGuinness had suffered a stinger from the hands of the cradle pile driver from Jerry Lynn, which left the door open for me. So Pierce got them to call me again for the second night and said, please be here, we need you here. And it was on that night that they put me in Nigel's spot, and they put me up against Tyler Black. And all they said was, we want you to have a great match. Don't worry about being a bad guy. Don't worry about being a good guy. Just go out there and give us 10 great minutes. And
wow.
I love that match. I still love that match. It's one of those matches that's my favorites, because all I did was use all my clever little wrestling basics, a few little add-ins there, and of course, Seth Rollins is one of the, a premier athlete and very, very talented. We just put this match together, and I still rave about that 10 minutes. I love that. That's one of those matches that I'll never forget. And that's the first time that me and Tyler Black had ever locked horns. So it was pretty impressive.
How do you did you have a run-in with him? Were you able to speak to him and see him while you was at in WWE for the Cruiserweight Classic?
No, there wasn't. Cesaro was there. I know Cesaro was there because Cesaro's always busy businessman, always in the works. But no, I didn't get to see him. I saw the Revival at the Performance Center, which is awesome. Dawson, those guys are awesome. Those guys are so great at what they do. It's just a great tag team. But I like a lot of the guys in the main roster. They would never be there. But it would have been nice to see a lot of those old faces again.
So, based it up, also too, I'm correct, Tyson, that you made some other appearances in WWE from 2002, 2004, I believe 2007, doing a lot of dark matches. Any stories about doing dark matches for WWE? Any memories?
I can tell you right now that I'm the king of dark matches. I think me and Joey Ryan went hand in hand, toe to toe, as the two unsigned guys that have the most dark matches and enhancement matches in WWE professional history. I think I got them beat, with the last one being just a couple of years ago with Sin Cara. I had one in Ottawa against Sin Cara, so I think I did top them. But the count is big. I think I'm close to 30 dark matches with the company. Enhancement matches, Velocity, Sunday Night Heat, those kind of matches, all those combined, right? So much so that I had my own entrance music. They gave me my own entrance music and everything back in the day. I'm the only job kid to ever get anything like that. It was kind of cool. But me and Ryan went toe to toe there for a long, long time. Other stories, I would say, when you meet people for the first time, the impression that you get is either it's going to be great or it's not going to be great. It's just surprising who you would meet, and you would get the opposite kind of reaction too. My example would be Brock Lesnar. It was actually a really nice guy, and even if you watch his stuff and then you listen to his promos, he just looks like a giant caveman that will eat you. He's just a big, scary dude. He's a scary human being, but he was actually quite quiet and humble. I always thought he was just a great guy, just a You know, because if you wanted a quiet corner to escape to, the one where Brock was probably your best bet. But on the other hand, you would think, now I've met Rikishi a couple times, and you would think Rikishi would be like happy and happy-go-lucky kind of guy, doing the dance and being kind of funny with putting the shades on with Too Cool and stuff like that. And Rikishi was always kind of, you know what I mean? I don't want to be negative. I'm not saying anything negative about the guy. Just saying I never got his vibe. Let's just put it that way.
A little rough. Yeah, we ran into him also at shows backstage. You definitely share your sentiments. Not really mean, but couldn't gel.
You get like a different kind of vibe from that dude, and it's not always comfortable. Let's just put it that way. That's as political as it gets, gentlemen, right there.
You mentioned before about the dark matches that you worked. As Martin Luther King used to say, I have a dream. I have a dream as well. My dream is that someday down the road, not only will every enhancement match, not only will every jobber get entrance music, but you know how like nowadays they have like a Twitter tag, like, you know, at AJStylesOrg or whatever? They should plug their Twitter too. That would be great.
The damn right. That would be so great. Because the amount of, like, it's all about business. It's all about a guy trying to feed his family. How wonderful would it be for that guy to go home and have that Twitter tag put on there for him to get more followers? And, more followers means more bookings, which means more money, which means, more success. I totally agree with that. And I don't think in this day and age there really is an enhancement guy. Like, is it James Ellsworth?
Yes.
It's like the epitome of, he's the epitome of the enhancement guy, and he's got like world title matches, and it's entertaining as hell to see that kind of a deal, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It looks like they're kind of flirting with it. It looks like they're trying to bring back those days. They're kind of like we'll meet you halfway. Like they're getting their intro. They don't have theme songs, but you know, they're getting the little pre-match interviews before they get destroyed. So it's like, I guess they're like, we'll meet you halfway with it, I guess. I mean, baby steps, I suppose.
You might just witness your dream in this lifetime. You know that, right? Your dream might just come true. That everybody's on an equal playing field. But man, I'll tell you what, I still love the idea of 80s jobber matches. There was something special about the Saturday afternoon WWF stuff where they would just.
Tech already knows how I feel, man. I want to see Braun Strowman, and I want to see Brad Armstrong. I want to hear that Folgers coffee commercial music from the heat of the night, Walker Texas Ranger. I want to hear it.
Exactly, and that to me that'd be sweet to see back, and that's not because I'm hunting for a job, fellas. That's not exactly it. All right, that's not how we're playing this game. But it would be sweet to see, like for like a lot of guys that are a little bit undersized or at the end of their line, at the end of their career. There's no other way to put a guy over than actually having some dude get crushed by another man. That's just the way it is. So it'd be nice to see a little bit of the resurgence of that.
Starting to see that a lot. Now, of course, Tyson, go back in the history of time with jobbers, the S.D. Joneses, the Bray Hollowitz, the Markey Brothers, the Rocky Kings. What are your favorite jobber memories, if any, or even jobbers we haven't mentioned yet?
Oh, my God. There's I don't even know his name. I do believe it is from the AWA. Do you guys remember the wrestler named Rocky Mountain Thunder?
Yes.
Do you guys remember that guy? He had Darth Vader helmet hair, and he wore Levi jeans. And he wrestled this dude. God, he only had 2 matches. He was an ex-football player, I do believe. I'm not, don't quote me on that. But he wrestled this guy in AWA. If you look it up, Rocky Mountain Thunder online, you'll see this guy. And he damn near kills this poor dude. I'm pretty sure this guy, ended his whole wrestling career. He ended it. Totally ended this guy. But the guy had so much heart to want to keep in this match with Rocky Mountain Thunder. And I hate to laugh because it's such terrible karma to laugh at another person's anguish. But everybody has had these horror stories in this business where you've had to wrestle guys, and it keeps falling apart and keeps falling apart, and there's nothing you could do to save it. And this dude that worked Rocky Mountain Thunder, oh man, he is the epitome of that nightmare that all wrestlers have.
Oh man. Any other Jabba memories? Rocky Mountain Thunder.
Oh my God. If I was around dudes in Windsor right now, we could probably pull up for you guys half dozen where they're floating around now where the Midnight Rockers, the Rockers take on these two guys, and they're absolutely terrible. This is all AWA. I don't know why it all centered around AWA that these jobbers have taken such a poor beat down. It's insane. I know that my job days were always a little bit different because I always made people laugh at that dance that I used to do when I was a kid. But my buddy that we used to tag together, his name's Tornado. If you guys look up, I don't even know if it would be on there, but my God, Mark Bartolucci or El Tornado, he used to have some job matches. He's probably my favorite, and it's not because we're friends and he was my tag team partner or anything back in the day, but years ago, his matches with him and Enhancement, because Mark could actually wrestle, really, really, really wrestle well, and he looked good. He was a good-looking guy, long hair, good build, like a wrestler build, like an old-school wrestler build, like the kind where the guys are half-seated on the tall stool with their arms folded, that kind of look.
Yeah.
And we used to do Enhancements all the time back in early 2000s, and that dude put over guys and made them look like, if they look like $1 million coming down, they look like $1 billion when he was done, because he was so great at what he did, and he made them look so good. There was not one person that he couldn't make look good, and yeah, and for his favorite jobbers, for sure, it's gotta be him. Just and that's, I don't know, that's close to my heart, I guess. I guess that's probably why, but to do the job and do the job correctly, but still yourself look like $1 million as well. Kind of like a Brad Armstrong, it's the same deal. Whereas Brad should have actually had an actual run, and it was under contract. Mark was freelance and just did his thing, and then we went home. That was it. That's how we did it.
Man, it was a great time. Like you said, like Toph mentioned, the jobber days could be coming back. Definitely could be coming back. Tyson, talk to us about your Canadian pride. I know fans just hit me up and asked about your love for Canada and how patriotic are you about where you live?
I'm very fortunate, and I never ever really boast. I've always taken pride in representing the country in many aspects of professional wrestling now. That really shows that maybe I am top of the line when it comes to my country. But I've done X Cups now, where I was Team Canada, then I was the World X Cup, where I was Team International, and I've done now the CWC, where I've always represented my country. I've always taken real pride in the fact that I could represent the Great White North. That's for sure. But as a citizen of Canada, there's our country is a little bit different than the States, which is different from any, we're all different in certain ways of government, rules and stuff like that. I feel very fortunate to be a part of a country that is prosperous and where poverty is low, and we can walk the streets safely. Oh my God, it sounds like I'm doing a Bret Hart promo. Really, it sounds weird. No, that being said, like I think when it comes to being in North America, I think like whether you're an American citizen or a Canadian, or like you are truly blessed if you're a part of a country that has a good government that isn't corrupt or completely corrupt. It's quite, because it could be a lot worse, and it's just, I guess we're all lucky in a way that we're just born to the countries that we're born in that have a little bit of success. And, I'm just fortunate. I guess I'm a fortunate fella.
Who would you say is the greatest Canadian wrestler and the greatest Canadian athlete? That's a put you on the spot.
Canadian wrestler? Oh, that's me, for sure, right? Who else would there be in the ways of Canadian wrestlers that are anyway like good at all at this business, right? No, honestly, the guys that stand out in this business that are from this country are quite phenomenal, because it's one thing to be good at this job. It's another thing to be noticed on a world level, because it's hard to go anywhere. Like the States, it's hard to cross borders and get places and get noticed and get the right visas to do this job. So the guys that have made it and made a name for themselves, they stand out for a reason. These guys are like just by far the best at what they do. As for Canadian athletes, anybody that owns a pair of those skates, man, and that stick and skate up and down the ice, Sidney Crosby, even though he's poor guy's concussion prone now, there's been no. There's one of those kind of athletes that is just impeccable. What a phenomenal athlete. I take athlete as a lot of things. I don't take athlete as just the guy that does one thing really well, but like a guy that can play a game, but not only from an athletic standpoint, but from a mental standpoint as well, and do the daily grind. That's an athlete, man. That's the guy that keeps on going. So, like the Gretzkys of the world, and I guess it's hockey, and that's very stereotypical of me, because and it's not, because I'm not a real huge hockey fan. I don't watch a lot of hockey, but those guys always stand out as being like the best athletes, well, for sure. By
When I asked you, somebody just asked you, your thoughts, Tyson, on, of course, I know you have right with him, Lance Storm, and of course, thoughts on Bret Hart and the Hart family.
Lance Storm I've wrestled Lance Storm, and Lance Storm is truly one of the best athletes when it comes to professional wrestling, and by far, and even now, and he's not that much older than me. I don't think he's that much older than me. But, just to stay in that kind of shape, because he's been retired for a while, and he still, gave me an ass-kicking not that long ago. We wrestled, and he had me a little bit on the ropes when it comes to winded. I had actually started to concentrate on breathing a little bit after working with him. And I love that challenge, and I think he's the same way. I think he likes to push the limit too. But Lance is by far one of the most gifted athletes in this business. And then when it comes to mind for the business, Bret really took that company from a real dark time when people weren't watching wrestling, and he was one of those guys that kept wrestling going. He kept the steam going for WWF. And if there wasn't a Bret Hart, I don't know where the company would be at this point, back in that early 90s stint. just before Michaels got his push, because he really held that company together and just a brilliant mind for the business, brilliant. And he's athletic, but he's not at the same caliber as a lot of athletes like a Lance. He's not like a Lance Storm. You're not going to get that huge leapfrog. But it's like every time you've seen Brett wrestle, you thought it was legit. I always thought it was legit when Brett was in there. That it could really go down, and this could really be happening for real.
I do agree with that. Go ahead, Toph, before we close it up.
Yeah, I think some of the last questions, I think you guys may have been dancing around it earlier, but so if you talked about this already, I apologize, but could you talk about your inspirations growing up? Did you have a favorite wrestler who that you patterned your moveset around? Was there anyone in particular that you studied? Again, I know you talked about it earlier, but so apologies if I missed that.
No, that's the thing with me though. You're never going to get in this day and age. I study everybody. So 1 week I'll like this guy, and the next week I'll like another guy. I'm like a kid with bad ADD that way, where I just bounce from one to another because I like to study a lot of different stuff. But when I started in this business, when I got my first start, Muda the great Muda from Japan, or Kenji Muto, and
Love Muda.
Oh yeah, so good, so theatrical, and it wasn't even so much his mindset. It wasn't so much his mindset; it was his whole being. He his energy, his explosiveness is not really what he did that stood out. It was just the character himself. The other one on the other side of this thing would be Chris Benoit. And I know Chris Benoit is kind of a tainted name now, but Chris Benoit would have to stand out as one of my favorites, without a doubt. And has always shaped my career and shaped a lot of careers. Even though, I know Davey Richards is a huge, we'll say it's Dynamite Kid, but really, the modern Dynamite Kid was Chris Benoit. So, without a doubt, Benoit was definitely it.
That's very interesting that you mentioned it. Yeah, and I agree. His name is tainted, and I'm one of the Tech and I talk. We don't talk about him that much anymore, but I've told this story before privately. I met him when I was a child at a WCW house show. I met him and Nancy, and they were both very friendly to me. I got their autograph and everything, so I can definitely understand how the name is tainted. But I agree with you in that respect. I mean, no, it's not my intent to disrespect any fans out there. There's a lot of wrestlers, big and small, guys like Daniel Bryan and Austin Aries and Kota Ibushi, and those guys are great wrestlers. But as great as they are, at any point have I never forgotten that they're not very big. They're of the smaller variety of wrestler. Chris Benoit is really, to this day, he's one of the few wrestlers that I've seen that legitimately made me forget his size. I forgot what match it was. I believe he was having a match against The Undertaker. It may have been one of those UK pay-per-views. I think it was called Insurrection or something like that. I don't know. It was some pay-per-view. Right. It was Benoit against Taker. And I'll never forget, Benoit just took Taker to the turnbuckle, and he just chopped him down like a tree, dude. It was just stiff knife-edge chops, clotheslines, kicks to the knee. He took Taker down. And he was just so aggressive that the size difference just became irrelevant because of how aggressive he was. And he just brought this intensity to his in-ring style that no one to this day has been able to replicate. I mean, there's a few that are close, like a Joe or like a Samoa Joe or like a Lesnar, or there's a few strong style guys. I think his name is Shibata. I can't pronounce his first name. There's a few others, but yeah, it's cool to see that there's some wrestlers out there that can still say his name. There's this whole Lord Voldemort thing. He must not be named, but you know how that is.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way, and it's a shame that it has to be such a dark mark on professional wrestling, but that's just the way it goes. But I like to look at the stuff, the accomplishments, instead of the thing that the negatives that have ended his career in a bad way. I'd rather focus on what made him great, and and he's always been one of the guys that has been the role model that got me in this business. So I will not give him credit for that. So just the way it goes.
Well, Tyson, me being a musician as well, got to mention two names: Lenny Kravitz, I know you're a fan of his, and Johnny Cash. And they use those names, if I'm correct. This is for your theme music. Tell us why you're a fan of Lenny Kravitz and your favorite Lenny Kravitz song and Johnny Cash.
The Lenny Kravitz thing was when I was tagging with Tornado, and it's just because we enjoyed. Back then. That's like we're talking about like early 2000s. That's when Lenny Kravitz was huge, and it was a straight cold player. And it was just such a funky song that it went well because I used to do that silly little dance, like a little chicken dance or whatever. When I used to, they got me my shot with WWE, so I always used that. The Johnny Cash thing came later when my father passed away. My father was a huge Johnny Cash fan, and so I used that in memory of him, and then it just caught on like wildfire. I do believe, even still to this day, that if you look on his Wikipedia, I think there is a tag to me on his Wikipedia for his entrance music. So it's just I used that for a lot of years. Like that was probably the mainstay for me for many, many years. Is the Johnny Cash one because of my dad.
Wow. But both great musicians. Thoughts, of course, on Prince. I know we mentioned Lenny Kravitz, and I know Lenny Kravitz and Prince were close. Thoughts on Prince?
Prince?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Just the funk, right? It's all just about funk. That's the time of the stuff that was getting over, so I just used it.
And fans hit us up. Jason said, since you love Lenny Kravitz, thoughts of Hogan using Voodoo Child for his NWO theme.
Oh, that was back in the day. I thought that was so badass. That was what led probably to the Lenny Kravitz, is the Hendrix using the Voodoo Child Hendrix stuff with Hogan was so like right on point. What a great song for him to use. Like both arrogant and cool at the same time, so it really fit the character in the NWO, the mentality, that NWO theme, right? It was unreal. So, yeah, I was a big fan of that.
I love Voodoo Child. That's like my favorite wrestling theme of all time. That's one of the main reasons why I can't stand Mania 18, because for whatever reason they didn't let him use that theme. He used the NWO theme for whatever reason. I never got that. They didn't want to pay?
Isn't it what?
Go
because of the copyright. It's due to copyrights, right? And I think that
yes.
WCW was Ted Turner's thing, so they would just like the money would just they were hemorrhaging money over all that kind of stuff, which was cool. In hindsight, it's really, really cool, but it's also like, what terrible business decisions. Like, why would you use that song if it's going to cost you, hundreds of thousands of dollars to use it in one episode? But they would do it anyways, right? So that's the money deal. Whereas this is Vince's money. He's not going to spend it.
Ron Wisely. Well,
right.
You got to mention yes. Do fan G&N on Twitter said, Tyson Dux, your thoughts on Phil LaFon and Doug Furness? Tag team. Remember that from back in the day.
Wow. I remember those guys.
That takes us back, yeah.
In Survivor Series 96, I remember them beating Owen. How do I remember this stuff, dude?
Yes. I had that over each other. Go ahead, Tyson, your thoughts on Furnace and LaFon.
You guys need to watch. For anybody listening, don't watch the Doug Furnace and Philip LaFon from WWF because they were banged up and done. By that point, they were just barely hanging on. What you got to watch is them as the Can-Am Express from All Japan. There's some matches on there. There's one match that is definitely 5 stars. It's them against Kobashi and Kichi. I can never say his name right. Kichi.
I have that match.
I don't know how you say it.
It's like Kichi. Kikichi?
Yeah. He's the guy that is a Dynamite Kid, Mark. So watch that match. That thing's unbelievable. So, those dudes were, amazing back in the day. Amazing. And it's kind of sad that the end of their run was with WWF when they were just at the end of it, which is kind of sad.
Thank you. Shout out to Brian, who sent the link that big fan of yours, Tyson Dux, just to let you know, WWE rated Furnace and LaFon as Born WWE Tag Teams. And that's actually a YouTube link. Very interesting.
Sweet. Yeah, those dudes are really good. Really good.
Yes, Furnace and LaFon, I know a lot of people didn't know who they were. I believe a correspondent just posted that match you talked about on our page so the fans could see that.
Yeah. That's definitely one of my favorite matches. One of my favorite tag matches ever. I'll watch that from time to time.
Yes, definitely is. And, of course, before you go, people want to know your thoughts on Goldberg returning.
Goldberg returning is probably – the Goldberg thing is awesome. How smart is that? That's good business. And I know a lot of smart marks aren't going to enjoy the fact that Goldberg's back because he's not a true wrestling guy. But for just name value and for shock value and all the stuff that goes along with it, and just to see what's going to happen, everybody's intrigued. I don't care who you are. You got the most views right now. Last time I checked, that entrance that he did was at 1.7 million. That just on views alone, and that's from Monday. That's insane. So good on them to use Goldberg, and hopefully that run is good. Because who's to say when you get those two beasts in the ring what's going to happen? I'm going to totally watch that, though. I'm totally stoked for that.
Yeah, were you a fan of the Brock Lesnar one from WrestleMania 20? The match that
of the what? Oh,
or were you a fan of Brock Lesnar one from WrestleMania 20?
No, because it was too new.
Yeah.
It was too new. I was not a fan. It was only later on down the this Brock Lesnar from UFC to WWE to UFC to WWE again that's Brock Lesnar. That's the guy that has cemented himself as a legitimate beast, and it's awesome to see.
Yes. Now that as we call it, Baby Brock from back in 03, 04, where it just didn't have the same feel. They had the same feel. Well, Tyson Dux, it's been an honor to have you on the show, man. It's been great. Right now, we're going to do what we call the plug party. Maybe go ahead, brother, plug your next appearances, your wrestling appearances, anything else that you're doing for us, businesses on the side, and how to get a hold of you on social media.
Oh, I love this plug party. I like this idea. Anybody that's in earshot, just follow me at Tyson Dux. That's D-U-X. Don't go D-U-K-E-S. That's the Dukes of Hazzard, and then that has nothing to do with me because I'm not from the South. Otherwise, you can follow me there. I'm on Instagram under the same tag. There's Facebook page as well. There's a fan page there. There's all the normal social media outlets. Big matches coming up. A lot of Canadian dates right now for Smash Wrestling. I'm wrestling Cody Rhodes this Sunday. Should be an excellent affair for sure. Also, I'll be wrestling for Smash against Mark Haskins and a couple other fellas on their tour coming up in November. as well as Border City Wrestling down in Windsor. If you guys, that's close to the border now, anybody from America, I'll be wrestling Congo Kong in his corner. It'll be a handicap match. It's me against the giant Congo Kong and Scott D'Amore. So there's lots of good stuff happening, man. I'm quite happy, and listen, I can always be busier. So if you're a promoter, I'm looking to be busy. Hook me up. You can find me online. Tyson_Dukes at hotmail.com. Just look me up, and we can talk business.
And we gotta give a shout out to you. I meant to mention that on my notes. Apologize. Shout out to the good Scott D'Amore. Some reason underrated. Many people don't mention him much in TNA. Of course, remember Team Canada. You had Alex Skipper, of course, Bobby Roode, Robert Roode of NXT fame. Real quick, memories of Scott D'Amore. Memories of for you, Tyson Dux, Team Canada with Alex Skipper and Roode and D'Amore was a part of it. Your thoughts?
Scott D'Amore is been the kind of like the guy that has moved a lot of things for me. I run the school for him. I was an assistant trainer in Windsor for years. So when I get opportunities through TNA and stuff like that, I always there's a little bit of pressure there because he's always watching, right? So it's always kind of a big deal. But it's I just feel as though Scott never really got his due. It was just he grew up in the wrong time where he was thick, strong, like good, great wrestler, could execute anything very well. Just didn't have the height in the time of Giants, and just got broken down before he could actually have a stride. But like a phenomenal guy in and out of ring, just a great dude. So can't say enough good things about the old Scott D'Amore.
Gosh, shout out to him. We talked to him again, tell him we definitely give a shout out. His work did not go unnoticed. He definitely was one of my favorites too. For that. But any last words, Tyson, before we let you go?
Hey man, I just want to say thank you very much for having me on, guys. It was a pleasure to hang out with you guys for a little bit here and chat away with you, and it was really nice. Thank you very much. Anybody listening? Thanks for listening.
Yeah, so we have you back on for part 2 down the line. Thanks, guys. It was Tyson Dux, great wrestler around the Indies, Canada's own. Of course, man, been in the game since 1997. Got to watch him in person at a few indie events. Definitely loved his talents. Of course, you can watch his match against Zack Sabre Jr. the first round of the Cruiserweight Classic. You can, of course, watch it on WWE Network. You can look it up on YouTube. Also watch old school TNA back when they were really good with the World X Cup. Like he mentioned, Scott D'Amore, Tyson Dux represented Canada, Robert Roode, Bobby Roode, who was in NXT now, Alex Skipper. Just great matches he's had over the years. Called himself the King of Dark Matches. I believe him and now Joey Ryan are neck and neck as the best. Joey Ryan, also former past guest of the show. Hopefully we'd like to bring him back on, too, to defend his crown of King of Dark Matches. Saltine, essentially Queen Toph, going to start with Saltine.